So how do you get from the city of Foz do Iguaçu in Brazil over to Puerto Iguazu in Argentina? Now, surprisingly, this journey is actually a little bit of a hassle. You could take the easier method, which is to use a private transfer. If you just ask your accommodation, ask your hotel for a private transfer, or go online and book one, you can book a private transfer that will take you from your hotel in Foz do Iguaçu over to the Argentinian side in Puerto Iguazu. However, that option is not a cheap option. You're looking at about 300 reais currently in 2024. That was the cost that I found when I was looking online for a private transfer. Now, 300 reais is about roughly 55 euros, about 50 British pounds, about $55. So it's not a cheap option. Now, there is a much cheaper option, but this option is a bit of a hassle, and it's the option that I chose. You can take a bus directly from the Foz do Iguaçu bus terminal over to the Puerto Iguazu terminal, and the cost to do this is 10 reais currently in 2024. That's about £1.60 or about €1.70. So obviously it's a much cheaper option, but you do have to be prepared for a bit of inconvenience. So go to the Foz do Iguaçu main international bus terminal, which is where you need to start your journey from, and you need to go to the Cruzeiro del Norte stand and buy your bus ticket with Cruzeiro del Norte. Again, it's 10 reais, and you must pay in cash. You cannot pay by credit card currently, you can only pay by cash. Once you enter the Foz do Iguaçu International Bus Terminal, you go to the right, you head down on your right to the end, and that's where the local buses depart, and that's where the Cruzeiro del Norte bus will depart. Now, the journey itself is a bit of a pain. It does a little tour all around the town before it heads to the border, and this is the important thing. So you need to get off on the Brazilian side of the border, and you need to make it clear to the driver that you need to get off at the Brazilian border. The bus driver will not stop at the Brazilian exit border unless you tell him to stop there, and that's because Brazilian people do not need an exit stamp to leave the country. And it is a local bus provider, so they assume that you are not Brazilian. So you need to make it clear that you're not Brazilian and you need to get an exit stamp. So you're going to need to get off at the Brazilian border. There is a little bus stop there. You get off at that bus stop and you go and get your exit stamp. Now, does your bus wait for you whilst you get your exit stamp? No, it does not. Your bus driver goes off to Argentina whilst you get your stamp. So you have to get your stamp and then go back to the bus stop that you were dropped off at and wait for the next Cruzeiro del Norte bus. And that's another important point. It's got to be with the same bus company that you originally booked your bus ticket with. So if you booked and if you traveled in a Cruzeiro del Norte bus to the Brazilian exit border, then you must travel into Argentina on a Cruzeiro del Norte bus. You cannot go with another bus provider, because there is another bus provider called Rio Uruguay, which also does the same journey too. And if you booked a Rio Uruguay bus, you cannot use a Cruzeiro del Norte bus. So you've got to stick with the provider that you originally bought your ticket with. So you wait for your next bus. Hopefully it won't be too long. It wasn't too long for me, about 15 minutes. You get to the Argentinian border and everyone gets off at the Argentinian border. You have to go through border control. Now then, really important fact about the Argentinian border. Do be prepared to give them the address of where you're staying at for your trip to Argentina once you're at the border, because they are very, very likely to ask you for full address proof of where you're staying. So make sure you have that address ready to give to them when they ask. And be aware, you don't get an Argentinian passport stamp because they do not give out Argentinian passport stamps for tourists. So you just go through passport control, you get back on the same bus, and then you're into Puerto Iguazu. Now, there is an alternative. If you just intend to stay and have accommodation on the Brazilian side in the Foz do Iguaçu town instead of the Puerto Iguazu town, you can actually book a transfer from Foz do Iguaçu over to the Iguaçu National Park on the Argentinian side. And there's a link in the description to where you can do that. So just go to the description, as you can see on the screen here. Click on that description, and that top link is to where you can buy a transfer, which will take you from Foz do Iguaçu, again on the Brazilian side, the Brazilian town, and it will take you on a day trip from that town over to the Iguaçu National Park on the Argentinian side of the national park. And also in the description, there are lots of other links to other products you may be interested in too, such as a side hustle that can help fund your travels. There's also links to VPNs, links to luggage. The link is to the Level 8 luggage website, and they offer very high quality quality bags and luggage for your trips. And also there's a link to Skyscanner where you can book your flights via Skyscanner using that link in the description. I do get a little commission if you do purchase through that link, and no extra cost to you, so it does help me out a little bit. So I do hope that you have found this video useful, especially if you are planning a trip to the Iguazu Falls. If you found it useful, please remember to click the like button. It really does help out the video and the channel, and also subscribe to my channel for more travel content. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.